experience, give me more of this. I'm out of control, about to blow, and I've been caught in the undertow. So toxic, but I can't get enough. You bury me, bury me. Yeah, you bury me, bury me. You've got me hypnotized, push me out of myself. You've got me hypnotized. I can see, I can hear, going crazy, but the light has got me hypnotized. You've got me hypnotized. Can get you out of my hand again. Is it wrong? Is it right? It's like I've won my final war without a fight. I'm out of control, about to blow. I've been caught in the undertow. So toxic, but I can't get enough. You bury me, bury me. I know you bury me, bury me. You've got me hypnotized, push me out of myself. You've got me hypnotized. I can see, I can hear, going crazy, but the light has got me hypnotized. You've got me hypnotized. Can get you out of my head, get you out of my head.
Please note.
Never gonna stop, never gonna change, never gonna do the things you say. I run my own way to get there. Fools are calling and I don't seem to care. In the air, no more crowd, just the opposite kind of few clouds. So tell me the storm is coming, I'm sick of all your lies. Why don't you try to be why? Now that I need you, why? Just to feel like I'm fading. And though my heart breaks, I'll beat it down. I cross the land just to tell you, don't leave the way, don't leave the same. Then I try with a child's play in the rain.
I am in misery. Everyone is watching me when I'm coming around. They all are judging me when I'm lying on the ground. I've got no shelter, I've got no escape. My life is a prison and I can't run away. I feel it in my bones, I'm losing it all. Stuck in my head, I am in misery. Deep inside myself, all I get, my only family. Stuck in the grave, can someone rescue me? I'm burning alive, I got it, I am in
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Taking Over. I am, of course, OLED Ed Fries, and I'm joined by my tag team partner, the one and only, the queen of our local establishment, Asher Bizarre, who has her own going on in the background. So if you hear any background noise, I apologize for that. I'm sorry. Some people just don't understand what a show means. But, you know, kids will be kids. It's all right.
Hey, they're kids that do karaoke, and I can't interrupt that. So
That's what I said. Kids will be kids. We've got a Bobby Munson saying, hello, my friends. How are you doing? I am doing wonderful in my new fishbowl. Astrid, how about you? What are you doing?
I feel weird, like I'm trapped in here.
It's going to be okay. I mean, this episode, we got some cheers, some bits coming in from Get the Tables. Thank you very much for joining us, Get the Tables. We greatly appreciate it. Hopefully you are getting ready for your big watch-along like we're getting ready for our big watch-along. Not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, 2 weeks from tonight. There will be no after show of Taking Over. We were going to be doing just a watch along for that episode. We'll do a short recap at the end of the show, talking about what happened for anybody who missed it. But Get the Tables, thank you for joining us. Remember to join Get the Tables Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And make sure to follow their TikTok channel. Today they posted a TikTok explaining who they are and what they do. So definitely go ahead. I saw it for the first time today. It might be old. I don't know. Tony will tell us. But I saw it for the first time today. So he's like, I'm full after that dinner from Chef Sean. Yeah, Chef Sean was cooking up the good stuff tonight. He was indeed serving up that good tonight. But they didn't waste any time. We had a recap package, and then Ava tells us, the importance of these Chicago's and St. Louis shows. And we find out that on the Chicago show, now official, Sexy Red is coming back. Why, Ava? Bad Ava. Bad Ava. Naughty. We don't need Sexy Red. CM Punk is coming back, and he'll be there to do something. We'll find out later what that was. Wesley and Zach Wentz is now official in a street fight for the Chicago show on 10-1. Also on 10-1, the NXT Women's Championship will be on the line when Julia takes on Roxanne Perez. We're also going to have a special episode of Ms. TV. I don't know who the guest is going to be, but I'm going to assume it's going to be somebody important. That'll be fun. And what I'm going to guess after the main event segment tonight is going to be our main event of the Chicago show, is going to be Ethan Page versus Trick Williams for the NXT Championship with special guest referee Charles Montgomery Punk. CM Punk himself is the special guest referee for Ethan Page versus Trick Williams.
No, it's Chick Magnet Punk. Come on, dude.
It's Chicago-made Punk. It's Cookie Monster Punk. It's all kinds of things. If you've listened to him over the years, it means 10,001 different things because he did it so that he could just bullshit whatever the fuck he wanted about what CM Punk meant for many, many years. We also found out that at the St. Louis show, Randy Orton is going to be having a match for the first time ever in NXT. We'll find out later who that is.
It's not the first time ever.
It is, according to Ava, it was the first time ever that he'll be having a match in NXT.
Maybe her NXT, but not NXT in general. That's a different story.
When did he have a match in NXT? I know Cena did. I know Punk did.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I forgot who it was against.
I was gonna say I don't remember Randy doing a dark match in NXT.
I don't remember who it was against, but I saw that somebody posted it earlier, and I went, "Ooh, I don't remember this either." Yeah.
Well, Astrid looks up that to fact check me and Ava. We get the contract signing. I mean, this was fine. This was fine. Ethan cuts a really good portion of his promo where Trick says that he had the title stolen from him, and Ethan says, "No, stolen. I earned this. I earned this championship when I beat you for this championship in that Fatal 4-Way match." He talks about how he loved the looks on everyone's faces. Not that he saw them that night, but since looking back, the looks on everyone's faces, the shock, the surprise when Ethan Page became the champion. He goes, "I earned that. And NXT is going to continue to live under the era of ego, and it will continue to be NX me." And then he did an ego's edge to Trick Williams through a table, and everything broke down.
Okay, so I found it. Randy versus Damian Sandow, NXT 2013.
All right, that doesn't count because that sounds like, if it's Damian Sandow, that sounds like it was on the television, like, cartoony show of NXT and not like NXT proper.
That's what I said. It's not not that NXT, but it's still NXT.
Yeah, it doesn't count. Okay, I know what you're saying. It doesn't. So for anybody who's confused about my nonsensical this NXT.NXT, before NXT was the developmental territory for WWE, it was a game show. It's where Daniel Bryan first was introduced to the WWE audience. It's Cody Rhodes was a pro on season 2. It's where AJ Lee got introduced to the WWE audience to talk about a name that we heard tonight. Bray Wyatt was introduced to the WWE audience on this. Wade Barrett was introduced to the WWE audience. The Nexus started because of this NXT game show that Wade Barrett won in season 1. I enjoyed the first 2 or 3 seasons of the NXT game show. It's dumb and it's kooky, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a bunch of fun.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But yeah, so that's a match that would have happened on that show. But it doesn't technically count as NXT because NXT then goes into an entire year and a half of this redemption version of the game show that basically became its own property. Oh, look! The karaokeers are here to say hello to you, Astrid.
I don't hear the music anymore. Maybe that's why.
Hello, Ariana. Nice to see you. But yes, so NXT will have Randy Orton will have his first proper match in NXT.
Yeah.
At the St. Louis show, and we'll talk about more about who he faces later. Ethan Page, Trick Williams, Ava, contract signing. What'd you think?
I was torn about it because I'd rather keep it as the main event the way it was supposed to be, and just not do this first part. If I really could have done without it, to be honest, because you could have feel like you could have done some of it and went like they did in the main event rather than this only for them to come out later again. Why?
There's a match we'll talk about later that I think could have used 5 more minutes. Not that I ever thought I'd be saying it about that match, but we'll talk about that match. It could have used a couple more minutes. And these minutes would have been good for it. I would have loved to have had Ava come out to the ring, or not even necessarily to the ring, but to the entranceway, and do everything she did beforehand, talking about how important these next shows are on the CW, how big of a change it is for NXT, to go ahead and list off all the things that are going to be happening, and then throw to the next match or the next segment. That's not what happened. We then go to Hammerstone backstage last week, and Tony D'Angelo says, well, what happened here? You lost. And Hammerstone says, Oba Femi's a beast, man. It is what it is. I couldn't get the job done. You couldn't get the job done either. But yeah, but I paid you a lot of money. I paid you money to do this. You're going to go get a rematch, and you're going to do it. And he's like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. You're the god of NXT. Why don't you go ahead and take him out? He's like, better yet, I'm going to teach you a lesson tonight. I'm going to teach you a lesson, Hammerstone. I'm like, all right, cool. Hammerstone versus Tony D. I could be in for this. I'll take that. We got STG jumping in late. I missed Chef Sean's dinner tonight. Uh-oh. We missed a good one to STG. Gonna have to go back and watch it again because this was a good one. But then Tyra comes to the ring. Lyra Valkyria and Tatum Paxley come to the ring. And we cut to our first commercial break of the evening. But when we come back, Ava's backstage complaining about the contract signing with Stevie Turner and Robert Stone. And Javon Evans comes walking up and he's like, look, I understand the cards are filling up quick and, we don't got much time, but I want to get on one of these CW shows. What do I got to do? He's like, I'll keep it under advisement, just sit back and we'll see what we can do. And so he and Cedric are very excited because he shot his shot to get on these big shows. I'm like, oh boy. Because at first I was thinking he's going to face CM Punk because we'd heard rumors that both Orton and Punk were having matches. And I'm like, oh, Javon Evans versus CM Punk. I don't want to see that. I really don't want to see CM Punk versus Javon. One, I don't want to see CM Punk wrestle much, period. Let alone, I don't want to see him wrestle against the Bouncy Man.
I thought, though, I don't know if it was me, but I thought I heard him when he talked, he's like, oh, I kind of understand, the October show, the October 1st show is getting filled up, so maybe for, the second week, something along those lines, and I'm like, I like how he's, even, him as a talent, he's realizing, I know there's not a lot of space on the first one, so can I get on the second one? That made me laugh though. When I heard that part, but again, I wasn't sure what route that would go. Pretty interesting. So I'm glad that he did shoot his shot though.
I'm interested with what actually came out of this. I'm very intrigued because I think it's going to be good for both individuals coming out of that. But again, we'll talk about that later. What do you think of Tatum Paxley versus Wendy Choo and Rosemary?
I love that match so much. First, I did like how both teams are matching in their own different gears. Like they're not matching gears exactly, but like matching colors. They looked great together like that. I loved it. And again, I've been saying every single week, Lyra, I don't know. I mean, I don't know who, sorry, Tatum. I don't know who Tatum is watching, but she's definitely watching a lot of Yoshi wrestling. And I'm enjoying her moveset so much. And I'm glad we're getting to see her like this because it just looked great. I can't even describe her moves in any ways, but she looked great. She looked amazing. I love seeing her and Lyra together. I want more of this now after I see them together like this. Like the double team moves. I love the way that like Lyra will be like, come on, let's do this. And then they will bounce off the ropes together to do this, like the side boot that she does. Their tag team is just amazing. It's like, I wish we could have got more of this when Lyra was here. It's like, why? Why didn't we? That would have been great to see. But again, Tatum showed out during that finish on Rosemary, tagging in Lyra for the win. And they win the tag team match. I can't even describe what she did, but she did amazing. She really did. So I'm glad Tatum got the spotlight.
It's almost like a cartwheeling unpretty her. Like it's almost a bit of a Chelsea Green unpretty her mixed with a cartwheel, like a Tony D'Angelo swinging neck breaker. It's really unusual. It's really cool looking. It looks badass as hell. I don't know who Tatum's watching. I don't know when she got to take a tour of Japan when we weren't paying attention, but she's light years better than she was before. Wendy and Rosemary work very well together. I like the heel offense that they were doing. They did all the healing things that they need to do. They didn't do the spooky stuff, but that's fine because they're in a wrestling match and they did the wrestling stuff. That's fine. Spooky stuff for promos, wrestling for the wrestling matches. That's how you book spooky characters. They did great here. Lyra gets the win. Tatum gets the win. It pushes that portion of the story along, which is good because we're going to need to continue to push Wendy and Rosemary in that TNA direction. Mm-hmm. So it gives Lyra and Tatum something like a women's tag team championship opportunity on the Chicago show.
Oh my God. I would love that. I want to see them as a team again.
Because we don't have very many women's tag teams. And there could be a match next week, number one contenders match, where we could get Lola and Jada versus Terrible Toxic versus Tyra versus Metaphor. I think you could get a fatal four-way of those four teams, and just the winner takes on Bianca and Jade at Chicago.
Every time you say Tyra, I just think of Tyra Banks. It's just not great for my visual at all. And then I was like, what about Lash and Jakara? Like, get all these like women tag teams in NXT and get them together in one match. I think I would love to see that.
Like I said, I include Metaphor in there. I think Metaphor is a good option to have in that match. I think there'd be something substantial and powerful about having Metaphor versus Bianca and Jade. As for African-American women having that match on that show, I think that there's something you can do with that. I think that's a marketable match that probably should happen. But, I mean, I would love to see Tatum and Lyra do it. I would love to see... I'm just suspecting that we're going to get the tag match either next week or on one of these CW shows between Terrible Toxic and Jada and Lola. Like, that match is coming. We just don't know what week we're getting.
Yep. Why you mute yourself?
What is up, Dar Amazing? He says, what's up, people? We say, what's up to you, good sir? We are here spilling all the tea on NXT. That is the only name that they go by. I don't know what this name is that they keep putting on the TV screen. I don't know what this name is that all the talent keep talking about. They are terrible, toxic, and that's it. I don't understand this, and I've never heard of that name. I don't know. I hear people saying it all the time. I don't know what it means. I refuse to use that name. I hate this group. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Sarah's backstage in the trainer's office with Trick and Ava. They're both determined to get the contract signed tonight. Ava walks off. Trick says that as soon as he gets that contract signed, he's going to take out Ethan Page as well. And I'm like, cool. Sure. Again, more time we could have pushed towards other people's matches if we didn't do two versions of the contract signing at once.
No.
There's another segment that did nothing. Was really good, but did nothing. That we'll talk about in a little bit. That could have been cut shorter to go ahead and give more time to other wrestling matches on the show. Hammerstone versus Tony D'Angelo. I enjoyed this. I thoroughly enjoyed that this was a match all about storytelling. Not in-ring storytelling. No. No, we don't have to do that in-ring storytelling that Daniel Bryan talks about. This is true storytelling. Tony D'Angelo gets thrown by Hammerstone, and it sends him PTSD about being thrown around by Obafemi. And he looks like he's doubting himself, and he doesn't know what's going on. And he rolls out of the ring, and he just stands there. And all of a sudden, he starts to walk away. And Obafemi, who's watching backstage, just laughs and says, he's broken.
Ouch.
And Tony D'Angelo gets counted out. I love this. I love this character development for Tony. I hate how this ended later. It should have been a long-term story, or at least a few weeks of story, as opposed to one night of story. But I'll take what I can get, because this is great storytelling, because it doesn't hurt Tony D'Angelo, because it gives him character development. It deepens the character of Tony D'Angelo. It gives Hammerstone a win, so he comes back from his NXT run with a win and a loss. So at the end of the day, he's no worse for wear. When he goes back to TNA, he can say, you know what? I got one win in NXT. I'm a happy camper.
I hope this makes sense, because like you, I did like the story progression we got tonight within the episode. But like you said, I wish it would have been the few weeks instead of just tonight. Because I like how it happened and how it went from like the beginning to like the end like this. But I would have given it more time than just tonight. Because I feel like it was really well done. But it would have left you more intrigued if you had him just like had that talk with the family and then keep it like that for this week until next week when something else happened. So I would have liked that a little bit more of a break in between somehow. But I like the progression that we have with him throughout the night. It's like I do like having to like, it's like following that character from beginning to end, but I just didn't want it to happen so soon. And I liked how well done this was. At first, I was shocked at him walking away. I was like, what in the world is happening here? But at the same time, he kept me intrigued and interested, like to see what his mindset is like later on, not thinking that we were going to get it the same night, actually. But again, this was very interesting, though.
They did the 3 perfect vignettes, but they did them all in one night. I would have done the match thing tonight. Next week, I would have done the vignette that we're going to talk about later with the whole family backstage. And then the third piece with him and Adriana, I would have done on the Chicago show. I would have had that air on the Chicago show. And then I would have the rematch with Obafemi on the St. Louis show. I think that would have been a good 3-week build to that match. And I think it would have kept people involved in this story for a couple of weeks. And it would have, they did everything right. They just did it all in one night. And that's the only,
the timing.
The only downfall is that they did it all tonight.
Yeah.
But maybe they have a different way of doing this. Maybe it's not solved. Maybe he's still going to go into, because she talks about we got to get in training. Maybe during training there's a setback. Like there's room to still do what we want to do. But I think that it would have been better, like I said, over a course of a couple weeks. It really would have been done. Before this match, I kind of skipped ahead. We had the Candy Crew backstage getting ready for their big tag match tonight. Charles is hyping up Tavion in his Japan run. Tavion is talking about how excited he was to wrestle in Japan, how much fun it was, how much he learned, and how he's ready to do this. Charles says Tavion and Myles need to start running this tag division and go to the tag team championships. I'm all for that. Wren tries to stick her nose into all this, and Charles is like, excuse me, miss. You need to make a name for yourself, not keep yapping back here, but go out there and make a name for yourself. Go do something. And boy, did she do something tonight.
This part made me laugh because the way he said it to her, the wording is like, if you were in the candy, because she goes, I am though. The way she interrupted him right at that moment was like, but I am though. I am a part of the crew. But just the part that he's like, he's got his thing with Japan. How about you do your thing and then somehow make a name for yourself? And I was like, that was interesting. I wish like she would. I know she's gonna still be kind of like a comedy act for a bit, but to get a little bit more serious side of her, I think would have been interesting as well. But again, she did make a name for herself somehow.
Oh, she did something. Yes, Charlie and Wren give off big, strong sibling energy. They also give off people who are in love with each other but don't want to be in love with each other energy. I don't want them to be. I don't need them to be. But for some reason, it's the wrestling thing. They hate each other. They're going to fall in love. Like, I don't want it. I don't need it, but it's going to happen. Wren Sinclair, Newton Co. saying, Wren Sinclair is very funny and entertaining. I know she was competitive during her time in the Indies. Yes, in all this time that she was a heel. And for some reason, they're still not letting her be a heel in a heel faction.
I'm telling you, that Mean Girl character was made for her instead of like a Cora, for example. Would have been made for her right there exactly, but sure.
Commentary was hyping up the CM Punk appearance tonight when WWENXT decides to come out and pull a Wesley and talk about what happened. He shows us the footage of Wesley assaulting Trey Miguel in the parking lot. The entire assault happens on the backside of a car, so we never actually see anything. So I don't think Trey Miguel's actually hurt. I think this is all part of the story.
And they did it like it happened in Ohio too. It's like, that was the NXT parking lot, you freaking liars.
That was absolutely the NXT parking lot. That was absolutely shot at the NXT parking lot. That was not shot in Ohio.
I was like, I know what the parking lot looks like, okay? I would know. Don't lie to me.
We've seen enough people attacked in that parking lot. We know what it looks like, NXT. It's the most dangerous place in the world.
You could tell it was either really, really late when everybody was gone at that point or really early when there was nobody around, but it was that parking lot.
Oh, we then get Tyrese Halliburton, whatever the fuck a Tyrese Halliburton is. Apparently it's an Indiana Pacer from what I'm told. Sources tell me he's an Indiana Pacer.
Sources?
And Ruben Code says NXT parking lot is the most is a dangerous place. So much it becomes a meme. Oh yeah, the NXT is the most dangerous place in all of professional wrestling. I don't know why people walk around that parking lot. I would never walk around that parking lot alone. I'd walk with at least 2 or 3 friends in an NXT parking lot.
Well,
when I go to that show, there's a reason why they have to shuttle people to the PC. Because they're afraid of the superstars attacking the fans outside.
Oh, jeez.
Tyrese Halliburton backstage with Ava, Stone, and Stevie Turner. And Tyrese says he can get the contract signed. And then Stevie, like me, is like, who the hell is this guy? Why the hell is this going to happen?
She's so real.
And Robert Stone's like, come on, buddy, give me. He's like, who the hell are you? And after Tyrese Halliburton walks away, Ava looks at him and goes, I thought you said he was your best friend. And as the camera's panning away, they're getting ready to go to the next thing. You just hear Stevie Turner in the background go, he doesn't have friends.
And he's like, I'm the one that picked you up at the airport. Dang.
We then get Terrible Toxic backstage having their promo where Jacy Jayne says that all they're doing is speaking the truth. Sure. Lots of air quotes in this one. I mean, they can be speaking their truth, but the facts don't line up with the truth they're speaking. So I don't know what to tell you. Newman saying wrestling fans never watch the NBA before they even watch. No. So it's not even so much like, no, I get it. Like, use the guy from the city you're in. I get that. That makes sense. You're in Orlando. Why are we using Indiana Pacers? Like, he won the gold medal. Cool. Is there no Orlando? Oh, of course there's no Orlando Magic on the gold medal Olympic team. There's a Celtic on the gold medal Olympic team, but of course there's nobody from Orlando on that team. I mean, you know, you use what you got, but you gotta, I don't know. It is what it is. We get a Lola backstage vignette with everybody who I knew. I knew everybody in this segment. It was It was Carly Bright and Kendall sitting in the lockers, and Brinley was the one standing up who was talking to Lola. I know all three of them this week. And then Jada came in. I like it when they use the talent that they've actually put on our fucking TV screen so we know who the hell's back there. Come on, NXT. Yeah. You've got 30 talented women in that locker room. We know that because you showed them all to us last week. Use the ones you put on television, even if they're injured. Like, Nikita Lyons is there. Use her on television sometimes. Yes, use Nikita Lyons.
No.
At least we know who she is, unlike the random NXT blonde number 45. By the way, I found one. I think I sent it to you the other day. I found out the Filipino lady that's in a lot of these backstage vignettes. I found her on Twitter the other day. I followed her, so the next time she's on and I don't know who she is, she'll post about it and I'll know.
True. Again, why you keep muting yourself?
Because I have a bad cough, and so I don't want to cough up. Lola is talking about how she's going to deal with Tyrell Toxic tonight. She's talking about how Jada needs to keep her space. Jada's right behind her. And she says, look, Jada, you can get all you want once I'm done. And I'm good. Lola, you have to understand the way you word things. Once I'm done with my match, you can get them all you want. Remember that line. We'll talk more about that later. Ashley, what do you think of this promo?
I was like, I know they're not going to get along in the aspect of, like, they're all different, but I was like, 1 + 1 + 1 = 3, and there's 3 on the other side. Don't be idiots, guys. Come on. I'm just waiting for that moment. It's like, see, you, and you. Yeah, sound good? Okay, let's go. Like, really? It's like, oh, no, I want to fight them. No, I want to fight them. 1 versus 3, 1 versus 3. Do the math. 2. At least you have an extra number there. Come on, people. I don't like this mathing ain't mathing kind of thing. Ariana will be proud of that line.
Oh, math ain't mathing. Speaking of things that ain't mathing, this match did not math for me. However, for our good friend Mel, we'll just leave this here. I have 3 words to describe the next match. Eddie defeats Ashanti.
This is one of those, it's like, it was a match, and it happened. And it's like, the only thing that I keep thinking about this, though, it just frustrates me so much, how they're using Eddie. Because you could do so much with this dude, and you're doing nothing with him.
Look at him. Look at how pretty he is.
Exhibit A, but it's like, seriously, his matches at like an NXT Underground was great, and all of a sudden he's off for weeks, and then nothing happens, and he comes back, is going against Ashanti, and it's like, but why? He could do more than that. I was like, I would like for him to be champion someday. He's not even close to being towards the title picture at this point. What are we doing with him? Do something.
This entire match, you want to know what I was doing? Explaining to Mama Fries what the fuck Ashanti the Adonis is. Do you know how hard it is? Do you know how hard it was for me to explain Ashanti the Adonis? Because I get up and go to the bathroom during most of his segments.
I feel bad for Mama Fries having to go through that more
Although
than
she did
anything.
have a line. She did have a line of the night on SmackDown. You saw that line that I put in the chat on SmackDown, right?
Mm.
All right, Mel. Eddie's going away now. Chase U segment. Ashton, I want you to go ahead and talk to us about the Chase U segment here in the classroom.
Sorry, Noob's comment just took me. I do like the fact that we haven't really seen Andre since the whole thing has happened with Ridge, and it's been everybody else so far reacting to it. Because first we get Duke, and then we get the Duke match, and now we get Riley and Thea. It's like we basically welcomed you with open arms, and look at what happened. So I like how little by little we get the reactions from everybody, but Andre has been off of it, off TV ever since everything happened, which has been interesting because we still haven't heard his thoughts about it, and obviously we're curious about what he thinks later on or how he's gonna come out of it and react towards Rich. But I feel like they did very well with this promo as well, just giving us a little bit of more progression without Andre being involved here.
I also want to bring something up because I think it's interesting. Please tell me I unmuted myself. I did. Awesome. Andre Chase has not streamed in 20 days.
Dang.
The entire time that we haven't seen him on TV, he's not even been streaming.
Smart cookie.
Dedication to the gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. My recap of this segment is basically yours, Duke. Because of you, we wanted to be the ones to say that people got Ridge wrong. Ridge, you broke my heart, says Thea. Mr. Davenport, sad that he was right about Ridge all along, and then he challenges Ridge to a match next week.
Yeah.
Or Mr. Davenport is going to go on the shelf just like Andre Chase and just like Duke Hudson.
Thea's gonna defeat Rich. That's what's happening.
No. Ashanti the Adonis is not. I saved this because I wanted to get through the segment because it broke Ashton a little bit before. He's not a pimp. If you want to see a pimp, go watch the Godfather segments on YouTube. Those are great. That's a pimp. Ashanti the Adonis is a man whore, and a bad man whore at that. That's it. We then get Punk. We get Punk segment. And Astrid, I devote the time to you.
I just can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm glad this happened tonight. Really glad that we get this Punk in NXT. I love how he starts name dropping the guys. It's like, oh yeah, in the future, we had to watch out for people like Lexis King. Look at the facial hair, and he points out about it. It's like, and I like how that got the crowd and the reaction that he expected. And he's like, Carmelo's killing it on SmackDown, and he's like, Ethan's another one. He's like, maybe Braun will be somebody they'll face soon. He's like, not to start any rumors. And then he name drops the last person, which is Javon Evans. I think it's always nice when you get anybody that's obviously a veteran name dropping the younger like talent like this. And it's like they're selective about who they talk about, so that's very interesting to like think about later. I'm very happy that Roxanne is the one that interrupted her father during this segment. I love this interaction between father and daughter that we get here. It's like I don't mind seeing this more often. I did like the way that she came towards him at first because she's like, and it's been 10 years. She's like, I've been so happy that you returned as Survivor Series. For 10 years, I was hoping you would return because you were my inspiration to get here. It's like you always said, you were the voice of the voices. And she's like, you were my voice. And I love how, like, after she compliments him, she looks at him and she goes, I actually did prefer your wife, though. And that actually got him to, like, laugh. And that got the crowd as well. It's like one of my favorite lines during this whole part. Favorite line out of the whole thing was that one. And the other one was, I really want to get a clip of when she goes, tell me I'm telling lies. That was great.
It's my new clip.
I want to find that clip of that. And I love how she like points out to him the way he is, and he's like, "Oh, you're like an overconfident champion," and she throws in the line, "I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I'm not." But I love the back and forth they had here before the interruption and everything happened. I think I wish you would have heard what Punk was gonna say before Julia's music happened, but we get Julia's music. The whole entrance is like she looks amazing, and the visuals that we get from the presentation from her here, and I love how she directs herself directly at Roxanne. Doesn't even acknowledge Punk. Roxanne. She goes, "The countdown is on. We have 2 weeks left." And then she just leaves. And Roxanne goes to chase her, like hit her. And Punk goes, nah, that ain't happening on my watch. And he stops her just like a dad would. Look how amazing that was. It's like, I don't want to say I was torn, but I just hated that Punk didn't get to say what he was going to say. But I love the segment, though. It was just amazing. I just loved it from beginning to end. Chef's kiss to everybody.
This is an amazing 15 minutes of television that did zero. It didn't add anything to Roxanne versus Julia because we're already sold on Roxanne versus Julia. We didn't need another segment between the two of them. So it doesn't do anything in terms of that. Mixing it up with Javon Evans, Carmelo Hayes, Braun Breaker, Ethan Page, and Lexus King? Come on.
The odd man out.
One of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong. And for once, it's not Javon Evans. Roxanne, just some more of my notes. I listened to most of yours, but I was looking something up to find so we could play it in a minute. 13-year-old me would be freaking out at this moment about being in the ring with you. When you came back after Survivor Series, I realized I should have been a Drew McIntyre fan.
Yes.
Punk says, I didn't come out here to talk about Roxanne. I didn't come out here to talk about Julia. He says, Roxanne, you might be better. I watched last night. I watched Io Sky and Bianca Belair tear the house down in Portland, Oregon. You might be better than them. You might be as good as or better than both of them. But none of that will matter when you get your ass kicked by Julia. Julia comes out. You have 2 weeks left. Roxanne seething, tries to hit her. Punk stops her. Love it. However, I did notice on Twitter, somebody else responded to this segment with the WWE version of this clip where Roxanne says that I should have been a Drew McIntyre fan. Drew McIntyre posts this. None of this "you're my wrestling daughter" bullshit. Only freaks do that. I'm just very proud of you, Roxanne. God, Drew McIntyre is the king of internet wrestling this year. Hello, Hassan Terrell. Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying the show. For anybody else who's watching who might not be watching, thank you for joining us. Make sure you hit the like button if you're on YouTube. Make sure you hit follow if you're on Twitch. And if you're on YouTube and you're watching this on demand after the show's air, go ahead and leave us a comment. Tell us what you thought of this segment between CM Punk, Julia, and Roxanne. While I loved the entire segment, I think it could have been 5 minutes shorter. I think you could have done a lot of good stuff in other matches with the extra 5 minutes. But there was nothing wrong with anything that happened in this segment. It's all gold. It just didn't do anything. It didn't further anything. Punk didn't get to say what he was going to do. Unless you're going to book Roxanne versus AJ at some point, it didn't further anything. So that's the only thing that I'll take this back if they ever actually book Roxanne versus AJ. But I don't think we're getting it.
Yep. And
if we're getting it, we're sure as not hell getting it on NXT. That is going to be at WrestleMania. Thank you very much. Getting back to some of our comments, Nubenko says Drew McIntyre didn't show. No, he's taking some well-needed time off. He is announced to be on the show next week to go ahead and retort CM Punk. Julia is great, but the one thing that irks me is that she doesn't show any expression. You know, it's fine. She's still getting used to that. It's all right. Let's give her a break. I don't
give her time.
I don't hate that she's emotionless either. She's not here to show emotion. She has no emotion in any of this right now. She's here because she was challenged. Because she keeps hearing somebody say that there's nobody in the world who can beat her. She's not here for emotion. This isn't an emotional feud yet. I think we're going to see emotion from Julia. But as of right now, there's no need to show any emotion yet. But I agree. She's going to need to do it at some point. But right now, I'm not worried yet. I could be.
Yeah.
Alexis King is an AEW guy, so is Ethan Page, which I think I'll talk about that later. Maybe, I mean, Brian Pillman Jr. is definitely an AEW guy. But there's no getting around that. Alexis King is not. Brian Pillman Jr. was. But, you know, like Sami Zayn and El Generico, they're two different people, man. Yeah, it's two different people. And then we get Kalani Jordan. Oh, Kalani. I have so many thoughts.
Oh gosh.
So Kalani starts talking about how much she appreciates and looks up to Jordan Grace for having the balls to do an open challenge. And that she might do one in the future herself. Why didn't you answer the one last week then? Why were you in street clothes when everybody else was in wrestling clothes?
Again, I said it last week. Why would you not take the opportunity? You would have had another championship if you have won the match.
Yeah.
I don't get what was stopping her from being like, "Oh, I'm not in the match." What was stopping you from putting your gear on and answering? It's like everybody else had the gear on ready to go. I don't
Except
understand what they
Terrible
would. It's like, why would you not take the opportunity while you're giving it? I don't know. Still don't understand.
She then talks about how she's not ducking Terrible Toxic. They're ducking her, which is fine. But it's like this whole promo just starts off bad because she starts off talking about this open challenge thing. And I'm like, well, if you like it, just fucking do it. You don't need to grow up and be a great champion to do an open challenge. Wesley did them every fucking week for about a year. And then Wren Sinclair comes in to save the Sept. And she walks up and she says, Charles told me I need to make my mark. Make myself an opportunity. Whack! And she smacked the hell out of Kalani Jordan. And then Kalani just looks at her and boom, Wren Sinclair's gone. Like, that wasn't just a slap. That was like, that was a good slap.
I felt like the cartoons.
That's John Cena slapping Chris Jericho in Mr. McMahon's office when John Cena was first starting out. Like, that's one of the best slaps in wrestling. That was a good slap that Wren did tonight.
Her running away the way she did, she almost like the rope runner. I feel like you only see the dust at the
Loved it. Everything about this I loved. Kalani Jordan run as NXT Women's North American Champion is somewhat underwhelming. I keep seeing this take that Stephanie Vaquia is going to come and take this Women's North American Championship. I think that's a bad idea. I would rather hot potato the NXT Women's Championship between Julia and Stephanie for 4 months than have Stephanie take the Women's North American Championship, have Julia take the NXT Women's Championship, and have those divisions on lock until after Standing Deliver.
Mm-hmm.
If they both win those championships, like I would assume they're going to do, like if we say that Stephanie Vaquia goes into that Women's North American title picture, she's winning that championship at her earliest convenience. If that happens, both of your women's divisions are completely unlocked because nobody's beating Julia at WrestleMania. Nobody is beating Julia until Mania, with the exception of Roxanne Perez, maybe on the first show on CW. I have a feeling there might be a funky finish there where Roxanne steals one and it goes to Halloween Havoc. But once Julia wins that championship, she's not losing it until Stand and Deliver or after. And I feel the same way about Stephanie. If Stephanie wins that championship, that Women's North American Championship division is on lock until she moves up to take on Julia at Stand and Deliver, is my imagination. That's where I'm fantasy booking that match to take place. One of their matches. Like I said, I would have Julia win in the opening shot of the show. Julia versus Roxanne opens the 10-1 show, and Julia wins. And immediately after winning, Stephanie's music hits. She comes down, and the gauntlet's laid. And that's the Halloween Havoc match. The Halloween Havoc match is the triple threat. Roxanne versus Stephanie versus Julia. And Julia wins that, and we go back to Stephanie and Julia, or Roxanne and Stephanie, building to the next pay-per-view. And then I honestly think you just pinball that championship, because it's been such a longly defended championship for a period of time. Roxanne's held it forever. Not right before that, but a little bit before that, we had that incredibly long Mandy Rose run. And then you had the short run with Roxanne, and then Indy, and then Tiffany, Becky, and Lyra. And I wouldn't mind one of those pinball back and forth. These two women are too good to, have one definitively beat the other.
Plus, I also think about it this way. Let's put a scenario that Stephanie will go towards the North American Championship. Then we would get people complaining online that they signed her only to put her with the mid-card title instead of the world title, to put it like that. And it's like, I think with all the buzz around her and her signing, just like Julia, they wouldn't just aim to put her in the mid-card. And that's no offense to the title whatsoever. That's just a level of her name at this point without even being in NXT yet. So I think it's just a matter of you see that feud, it'll be Julia and Roxanne, and then Julia, Roxanne, and Stephanie, and then Julia and Stephanie moving forward. I think you keep it unlocked between both of them, because if we're gonna want to see this match in NXT, versus like you said, if you keep Stephanie as champion here and then you get Julia here, then for sure there's not gonna be a new champion for months now, because they're not gonna have them lose in a month or two. They're gonna have a little bit of time with them. So it's it feels like it gives away at the same time the results for the next couple months if you have them both as champions, because whoever faces them is going to lose. So just I feel like that's not great either. But one thing I love about this is, if something like that were to happen, we also have the fact that NXT is great about doing non-title feuds as well. So we get that balance there. But it's I just, at the same time, I don't want to see them both as champions at the same time, just because I feel like it's not going to be fun when we know that they're not going to get defeated like that. Especially with their names and the way the buzz we have around their signings, they're not going to get defeated that easily. So it's going to take a while for them to lose their championships, so that does happen. So I'd rather see Julia and Stephanie, and they have the North American Championship be for the newer girls, to try to gain the confidence the way Kalani has been in the last couple of weeks, and kind of jumping in between all the newer girls like that. It's like I saw Ruka will be a great champion. We haven't seen her with a championship. We want to see that as well. So I feel like it's a good opportunity to give other girls that have a little bit less experience a chance to be a champion. And if you have both of these as champions, they're not going to get that opportunity to be it. So I'd rather have Stephanie and Julia here, and then keep the North American Championship for the newer girls.
Carmen Petrovic, Jada Parker, Lola Vice, Kalani Jordan, Jacy Jayne, Fallon Henley. All of these girls' development instantly stalls if Stephanie Vacour and Julia are both singles champions in NXT at the same time. They're going to get better, don't get me wrong, but their ceiling instantly lowers the moment that both Stephanie and Julia are champions. Because the one thing that I want to see out of Jada now is a championship run. What I want to see out of Wendy Choo is a championship run. What I wouldn't mind seeing out of Fallon Henley is a championship run. What I kind of think would be interesting is, what does Carmen Petrovic look like with a confidence of a championship? There's a lot of women who would start to stall out in their development if Stephanie Vacour becomes champion. Can they do it? Yeah, they can. It'll be good numbers. But it becomes incredibly predictable. And predictable isn't bad. It's just not as entertaining as it can be. Jada Parker versus Roxanne Perez would have been one of the most compelling women's matches in NXT this year, had we not known that Stephanie and Julia are both signed and ready to come. Because I think if it weren't for Stephanie and Julia, they might have put that championship on Jada Parker. If they didn't know they had Stephanie locked down, if they didn't know they had Julia locked down, they might have put that NXT Women's Championship on Jordynne Grace. But they knew where they were headed, and they couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad idea to put the title on her, but it's going to damage the women's development on the deepest women's division in all of North American women's wrestling. And I always preface this with North American women's wrestling because stardom exists, because Mari Gold exists. And while Mari Gold is still brand new, a lot of those talented wrestlers out there are impressively talented and probably deeper top to bottom than this NXT women's division, because the NXT division is still developmental, whereas Mari Gold is much more proven talent, even if on a much smaller scale, like a Zeta Steel. Zeta Steel is at the bottom of that Mari Gold roster when she was over there on her run in it. Not because she's not talented, but because everybody else is so talented on that roster. That somebody as talented as Zeta Steel, which, by the way, if you want an interview with Zeta Steel, check out Astrid Asks with Zeta Steel. It's just so interesting that there's so much room for development with these women. And the one thing they have to continue developing these women is that Women's North American Championship. Because it doesn't need to be on a proven winner. It just needs to help prove who is a winner.
And also, if you think about it, even putting Marigold and Stardom, a lot of the girls have a lot more experience than Zeta does. Zeta, at the time I interviewed her, I believe she had said she got a WWE trial like a year or so into her career. So she's still very young, and I think she's been wrestling for 2 years. So a lot of those girls on that roster, she's the one probably with the least experience with 2 years, and that says a lot. Imagine, and if you watch her matches, you would probably not be able to notice that she doesn't have that experience, because the way that she is so confident in the ring, and the way she is just like the way as a heel, the way she draws and that energy is like it's one of those things that she has it when it comes to that a lot of people don't have. Zeta has it. And it's incredible to watch her grow and see her matches, and even just that moments of like the way she draws, like she draws you in such a way that a lot of people don't. And when I think about it, when I interviewed, and she told me, it's like, oh, I gotta try it like a year and so into my career. It's like, what? And like, at least she knows what she has to go through for the next one. But it's incredible to think about it. She had only been a year and so into her career when that happened. Can you imagine when she gets more time?
We got Bobby Snatch jumping in and saying he's still waiting for Delta. And yes, Delta is still coming. Like, on top of Julia and Stephanie, we've got Delta on the way too. She's finally here in the States. She's training at the PC. We'll see how long it takes for them to put her on the roster too. We got Will Chisholm bringing a great point here. To be fair, Julia was locked down with WWE since April. She just had to finish up with Marigold. I agree. Like I said, and that's what I was talking about when I said that when they did the thing in June with Jordan versus Roxanne, if they knew Julia was going to be in Japan for the end of the year, they might have put that title on Jordan for a short period of time and then put it back on Roxanne. They might have put that title on Jada Parker only to just to see what it looks like, to see what Jada looks like with that championship. Not physically, but what Jada feels like as a champion. And like I said, it's not a bad thing to know that Julia's coming in and going to win this championship relatively soon. That's not a problem. It's not a problem that Stephanie Vaquer is going to come here and win this championship relatively quickly, potentially. That's not a problem either. The problem is when you do it with both of your women's championships, now you're stifling the rest of your women's division. And that's where the problem starts to rise. Because you're developing one of the better women divisions in wrestling. It's not the most talented women's division in professional wrestling in North America, but it's certainly the most deep. It's certainly the deepest division and the most well-told stories for their women's division. Even if I don't like the terrible toxic story, that is a non-championship feud going on between a multitude of women's talent that is constantly on the show week in and week out. TNA's not doing that. AEW's not doing it. Not on a week-to-week basis.
No, Raw and SmackDown either. Not much.
Not as much. They're trying, but they're not doing as much.
They,
and when they go
to
to
put
2
it like
hours,
that, yeah, that's gonna be worse. And to put it like that, this is what I like about NXT, like that they focus on it very often in like on a weekly basis. WWE, you might get somebody this week and somebody not there the next week, so it's not very consistent. But NXT, one thing I always say about it is consistency.
yeah. And granted, Asuka is of course one of one. There's only one Asuka. There's only one Kana. We knew she was going to win. Julia's not far behind with the if you talk to people who watch women's wrestling in Japan, Julia is not far behind the hype of Asuka and Io and Kairi. She's right at that level of hype. Just because the reason why the hype died down is because she chose to go with Rossi to Marigold as opposed to stay in Stardom and finishing out her tour in Stardom. That's the reason why the hype died, because she started going and working with different talent on a promotion that was just building. We're going to move off this topic for a little while. We will definitely get back to it probably next week. But we appreciate all of the chats in here. We greatly appreciate it. In the comments, go ahead and let us know what you thought about this when you watch it back on YouTube. We'd greatly like to hear it. We get the second part of the D'Angelo family storyline that I really wish was next week that we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. Where they're trying to figure out what's wrong with Tony, and Tony just blurts out all of a sudden, "I'm afraid." And I love it. I love the way he yells it. Like, she's like, "Just tell me the truth." Rizzo just like, they're all trying to get it from him, and he's not giving them anything. And what do you want from me? And Rizzo's just like, "I want the truth." And he tells that he's afraid that he can't see what's going on with Obafemi, and Obafemi just destroyed him. And he's afraid of Obafemi, and he's afraid of failure again. And I love this. I love the character development. It shows a more vulnerable side of Tony D'Angelo, which is something that when you lose, and you lose big, it can happen. You can have this mental issue, this mental block about being able to go forward. And it's nice to see it on the male side for once. Because this is something you sometimes see in women's stories of the whole, "I'm not good enough, I can't do this." It's very rare to hear the words "I'm afraid" from the male point of view. Mm-hmm. So I like that. It was great development, but I wish the segment was next week. Let the earlier thing with him walking away from the match sit, and then do this segment.
Yeah, and like you said, just the fact that we really get men like in the feels like that, like admitting how they're actually feeling, because when the guys do it, it's a sign of weakness. So it's like to see something like this, it doesn't happen often. So it's very weird to see this happening. But at the same time, I'm glad that even the family is like, "No, we're with you. Like, I'm afraid too. Like, we'll deal with it together." And it's nice to see how like they're supporting each other. It's like, we know we're a family. We're here for each other. So I really love seeing that kind of support that he's getting, but also the fact that he's a guy and admitting that, and it's like, I got defeated and it hurt me, and it's like affected me somehow. But the family's like, "We'll deal with it with you though." It's like, I'm glad that they're not leaving him alone. But it's nice to see that man in his feels be like, "Yeah, something happened to me and it's affecting me," and then he's saying it out loud. So that's something that doesn't happen often. So it's very big to see this happening on TV.
Yeah, I love everything about this. Like I said, I just needed it next week. I needed it 1 or 2 weeks down the line, because this is exactly the type of storytelling and character development that people say is missing from a lot of professional wrestling. This is good. I like this. I just wanted a little bit more. We come back to the Candy Crew coming to the ring as Javon and Cedric are already in the ring. I mean, this is a fun match. Baby Randy's out there doing his best. Tavion Heights showing off and looking great. They're highlighting Tavion Heights a lot in this match. Cedric Alexander gets a lot more in this match than I expected him to get. But I don't hate it. I thought it was good. And Javon Evans gets the big win. He gets the pinfall on his way to face the legend killer, Randall Keith Orton, in St. Louis on 10/8. On the second CW show, we are getting Javon Evans versus Randy Orton. I said earlier I didn't want to see CM Punk versus Javon Evans. I'm all for Javon Evans versus Randy Orton. Randy's a lot better physical condition than CM Punk. He can have more than 3 matches in a row before his body breaks down and he has to be out of wrestling for 6 months. More importantly, he's having more fun right now than I think he's ever had in the professional wrestling business. And he's going to make Javon Evans look like a fucking star for 5 to 10 minutes before he RKOs him through the fucking mat.
I'm already seeing it in my mind the way he's gonna bounce with that RKO. Oh my goodness! But I do, like I told you, I do want to see one, even if it's one little interaction between Myles Borne and Randy, even if it's backstage. I don't care. Just show me that, like the Spider-Man kind of meme. I would love to see that, even something tiny like that. But I want to see them like looking at each other, like you're kind of like you look similar. Something like that. But I definitely want to see that interaction before the episode's over. Please.
We got Will jumping in saying, I did love that Punk put over Io and Bianca. He always puts over the women's division. Yeah, I will say a lot of things about CM Punk. Most of them won't be nice because I don't love CM Punk. I'll rephrase that. I don't love CM Punk since he's come back. I love CM Punk's early career. I love CM Punk all the way up to when he left. I love the fact that he tried to do the UFC and failed. There's nothing wrong with that. He tried something new and failed. Everything since he's come back on both sides, I've not loved. I think his body's not ready to take the beat. But he's doing better in WWE than he did in AEW with being able to wrestle more than 2 or 3 matches in a row. So let's hope that he can keep this up and that we can get to Hell in the Cell without his body crapping out on him.
What I love about him now, though, is like he looks so much happier, like visually. It's like the fact that, and you can tell he's just having fun with what he's doing more than anything. He's not bitter coming to work. I'm like, when you're bitter coming to work, you don't want to come to work. And he doesn't seem bitter. And he, like the way he's going to the performance center and training with guys and girls and even sharing his wisdom the way he is. I was like, this is how it should have been in AW. It didn't happen because of the environment. So it's nice to see it happening here and seeing him taking pictures of the girls. And it's like, no, we're training with him. We're picking his brain on things. He's watching our matches. We're getting advice from him. I'm like, this is what I love to see from CM Punk.
We get Ridge Holland backstage telling everybody that he told them he was going to destroy Chase U. He's destroyed Duke. He's destroyed Andre. And next week it's Mr. Davenport's turn to get destroyed. And then Brooks Jensen's coming to the ring and Sean Spears tells him good luck and he stops and he's like, well, you coming? He's like, do you want me to? And he's like, yeah, that's why I asked. And off they go, and the merry little way is being gaslit some more. Dion Lennox versus Brooke Jensen. It was a match. It happened. Brooke Jensen wins. I think there's something to Dion Lennox. But I'm less and less interested in him every time I see him when they beat him the way they do. Because they give him that Hulk up moment every time, and then he just gets beat like 20 seconds after he hulks up.
It's definitely not working.
I think he's got something. He's got a good look. His moves in the ring are perfectly fine. Like he sells all right. He has a good moveset. He has a better moveset than Brooks Jensen. But
He reminds you a little bit of Eddie Thorpe in that aspect too. Is like you can see the potential in him, but they're not doing much with him in the aspect that you're like, what are they? What are you doing? What are you doing with this dude? Because I'm like, I like the fact that he's the way that the girls are attracted to him because he's a reader, and then like things like that you don't get to see often with the guys. So I like seeing that, like you said, we get the Hulk up moments with him taking off his glasses, and then it's like, is he not powering up to 100%? That's why he gets beaten up. I don't understand. It's like, because he looks great as he's doing it. It's like, I'll take off my glasses, and I'm like in the zone. But what does it matter though if you're getting beat up so quickly? So it's like, so what's happening there? I knew in my mind that Brooks was gonna win it. I just didn't expect it to happen that quickly though. When it did, I was just mostly in shock. I was like, how do you do this to that guy? And it's like, wait, it's over? I don't get it.
Wesley cuts a similar promo that Zach Wentz cut earlier. They're both on the same agreement. It all ends in Chicago. Sure. Terrible Toxic makes their way to the ring. When we come back from the commercial break, after Terrible Toxic made their way to the ring, A-Town Down social media promo from this afternoon is put up on Twitter, and we find out that Naxium is indeed going to take on Austin Theory and Grayson Waller right before Grayson Waller goes to Australia for the PWA show. So that'll be a bunch of fun. I'm very excited for that tag team match. Astrid is on pins and needles, waiting for some people to debut, and we're going to make you wait, lady. Patience, lady. No. They're not here
After
yet.
that match. After that
Keep
match,
waiting.
at least. Please.
No, keep waiting. I hope they keep you waiting. I just want to come on here every week and tease you about the fact that the Motor City Machine Guns still aren't here yet. All right. Speaking about the match that needed more time, Lola versus Jason. I really liked what they were doing in this match.
Wait. Can you say that again?
Lola Vice and Jacy Jayne had a good little match here. I think it needed about 3 to 4 more minutes. I think the post-match needed about another minute and a half. So I think if you cut 5 minutes off that CM Punk promo in the middle of the show, and if you cut out the contract signing in the beginning of the show and just have Ava come out and hype the 2 CW shows, I think you make up enough time to add time to Brooks Jensen and Dion Lennox to make Dion Lennox look a little bit better. I think you can add time here. But Lola comes off looking like a massive deal, where she beats the 3-on-1 with Jasmine on the ropes, and she gets her leg hooked by Fallon Henley. Jacy comes in for the knee. Jacy misses the knee. She goes ahead and gets the spinning back fist right to the face. God, Jacy's face took a beating in this match. God, did it take a beating in this match. But Lola gets the win. Terrible Toxic attacks. Jada eventually comes in and makes the save. And then for some reason, Lola's upset. And I'm like, Jada waited till after the match, like you told her to. You asked her to wait till after the match. She waited till after the match. And you still gave her an attitude.
Yeah.
But I liked what I saw in this match. I think it could have gone on a little bit more.
I was surprised at how short that was, because it was short, but it felt even shorter watching it. So it was like, I feel like it almost felt like it started and ended like 2 minutes into it. So I was thinking, what was the point in that? You could have taken out time from that contract signing at the beginning, added more to this. I feel like this one at least progressed the story of what's happening here. But the contract signing, nothing happened until the main event when Punk has his announcement anyway. So it's like, if you think about it, we got the contract signing at the beginning, the Punk and Roxanne interaction, even though I loved it. Those are 2 attempts at the same thing almost that didn't get resolved into the end. And it's like, that didn't need to happen, to be honest. But I like what I'm seeing here. Just a matter of like, they should have gotten more time. And I like the fact that Lola's arguing with Jada. It's like, hello, my enemy is my friend. Come on, dudes. Doesn't take that much of a logic.
Can they coexist?
No, they can't. Yeah, that's the only part I'm like, get it together, people. Let's do this.
We then had the third segment where Rizzo is by herself talking to Tony as Tony's getting ready to leave the PC. You can see him in the workout room, so it's the two rings, because you can see the post for one of the rings that's in all darkness right behind him, and then you can see off to the back behind her, you can see the other ring. So we know this is indeed the tryout room that we see often in a lot of backstage vignettes of the talent working out in the PC. Rizzo says, you know what? I'm afraid too, and there's nothing wrong with being afraid. Tony D'Angelo blames himself for disrespecting the family, for disrespecting Rizzo with that comment. I love how they keep bringing the comment up without saying anything about it, talking about the disrespect.
Mm-hmm.
I love that there's an element to this where Tony still feels bad about that he didn't step up and he sent Stacks out there and Stacks got beat. He talks about how it's all bad, it's all looking bad, and it's on him. And she's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's on, if that's what's going on. We'll get over that because we're behind you. She says, you know that you'll always have the family. I don't believe, she even says to him, I don't even believe that you believe what you're saying. And he's like, you know what? I don't. And she's like, you can go ahead and take your rematch against Oba. And he's like, I will. And we're going to train you for it. He's like, all right. And what happens if I lose? Then you lose.
It happens.
Again, this is the great third. This segment is fantastic. This is Rizzo's best segment of anything she's ever done in NXT. And it's fantastic. But I needed it 2 weeks from now. This should have been the last thing in between the main event segment on the first show on the CW. That's where I would have put this. So we go to commercial break with the look of people coming to the ring for the main event. So you have CM Punk come out to the ring, and you have the champions making their entrance in the back of the arena. You cut to commercial break. You come back from commercial break. And you do the NXT thing where you come back to something that's not what we left to. And you come back to this. And then you go right into the championship entrances for the main event on the CW show. I think that would have been a perfect place for this. But they chose not to. They chose to do it all tonight. So unless there's something more that we get in the next few weeks. But great segment. Didn't need to be tonight. We get confirmation of things on next week's show. We're getting an NXT press conference next week. I don't like the sound of that. I don't know if that's during the show, before the show, after the show. We're gonna start talking to our contacts after we get off the air about how we get on this NXT press conference, because we want in on that if we can. We'll have to make some calls, but we'll see what we can do. We do know we're going to get the Grayson Waller effect with Naxium as the special guests. We're getting Wren versus Kalani for the North American Women's Championship. And we're getting Ridge versus Mr. Davenport. Otherwise known as Riley Osborne, for those that don't know why I keep calling him that. And then we have the main event segment. Tyrese Halliburton goes ahead and introduces his Indiana Pacer buddies in the front row who all got booed, and he says, come on, I understand booing, a great team like the Pacers when you have to deal with the Orlando Magic on a week in, week out basis, which fun basketball humor, I guess, from two teams that don't fucking matter because it's the Celtics or bust in the NBA. I mean, the defending world championship Boston Celtics, but, cool, Indiana Pacers. Words are spoken. Contract gets signed. Halliburton goes, oh, by the way, one last thing. Hit the music. Kirk. Cult of Personality plays. What?
Do that again?
No. Cult of Personality plays. CM Punk comes out and he says, When I came out here earlier, I was trying to talk about this match. And he announces that he's going to be the special guest referee for Ethan Page versus Trick Williams. The show goes off the air with everybody fighting, and Punk just sitting there going, "Let them fight. Let them fight." And Punk's cheering it on right in the middle of the camera shot as they're both being pulled apart. It's a great closing shot. I love it. Should have been the closing shot of next week's show, but fine. We can do it this week. And that was NXT. I mean, do you have anything to say about the main event segment? I apologize.
No, let them fight. Let them fight.
Ethan, put on some clothes. No. Yes.
I love that whenever he comes out, that's how people start singing now. I was like, I love how great that like Joe Hendry is with his lyrics to the point that people are still like basically singing that song even when he's not there. I love that.
And by the way, I was so wrapped up with how good the D'Angelo family stuff was, I didn't even point out that there wasn't this D'Angelo family this week.
Sure, you did it, yeah.
Astrid, tell the good people what happens if they scan this link.
This beautiful QR code you got over here. Whenever you scan the QR code, you still get to bshop.com, but any sales and prices are always the same. Just a little bit of it gets back to me, which is what we use for the Canva and stuff like that for the graphics that we use throughout Wally. So shop whatever you shop like you usually do. If you scan this QR code, you get to have the Astrid Pizarro or the Astrid Post shirt, which is the one that Mel and Mike are modeling. The design's right in the middle, so you can scan it right there and get that design. I can't do it. No.
And of course, where can the people find you this week?
I don't have anything else this week. Yay. Working a lot. You can't see that. You can find me on my Twitter, Blue Skies, Astrid Bizarro, my Instagram and Threads, Astrid Bizarro 20. And most of you are probably already here, but if you haven't, you can go to my YouTube channel, just like my name as well. Subscribe and hit that bell to be notified whenever I upload or go live, because I think, by the way, this month is going, Taking Over is going to stay on YouTube going forward. Yay! So hit that like there.
Of course, you can find me on Twitter at edfries12584. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/edfries2002. Marvel Talk will unfortunately not be happening tomorrow, as unfortunately Disney actually meant the 18th when they told us that it was happening on the 18th, which means the episodes did not drop today like I assumed they would, which means they're dropping at 9 o'clock tomorrow, which means we can't talk about 2 episodes of a 40-minute show 45 minutes after the first one airs. So we will not be having Marvel Talk tomorrow. We will be trying to find a time. It may be a recorded episode this week. I may go live on Friday night. I'm not sure what we're doing just yet. Stay tuned to the Our Local Establishment Twitter page, which you can find right down here at Ole Podcasts. You can go ahead and follow us there, and we'll give you updates as we know them when we're going to have Marvel Talk. But we will be talking all things Agatha all along. For the next 7 weeks, we'll be talking all things, 8 weeks, because there are 9 episodes. We'll be talking all things Agatha all along. It's going to be a great time. As Aubrey Plaza says, it is apparently the gayest show Marvel has ever done. A direct quote from Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah.
So, a lot of fun for that. Otherwise, I'll be back here next week with Astrid Bizarro doing Taking Over in our normal time slot. And then in 2 weeks, I will be here doing a watch-along. Astrid might be here doing a watch-along as we go ahead and watch along to the CW debut in Chicago. We'll be doing a live watch-along. There will be no normal Taking Over on that week. And then we'll be back to normal Taking Overs for the St. Louis show. There'll be no watch-along for the St. Louis show. We're going to watch that show on our own, and we'll come back to you and do the basic thing. Also, let us know which version of the heads do you like. Do you like us in the little ship heads? Do you like us in the little squares? Or do you prefer us in the big squares like this? Let us know, because we got to make sure we keep Chef Sean in the picture. Either way, I have been OLED Ed Fries. This has been the Natural Ash Bizarro. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
I am in misery.